Good evening, everyone. Hi, it's Wednesday, and at 9 p.m., that's where I show up. Hi, my name is Andrew. If you are new to me, let me move this. I'm called the email guy, and I show up every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Spend half an hour or so, 30 minutes or so, with you to answer all your questions with regards to email marketing. Okay, so let's see. So, who am I? If some of you are new to me, I'm broadcasting this to my LinkedIn profile, to my Facebook profile, my YouTube channel. What else? I think that's right. Okay. So, who am I? What I do help businesses build deeper relationships with their prospects and also clients through the medium of emails. And there are two methods of doing it. Either you do outreach or outbound, or inbound. Inbound means people give you permission for you to send emails to them. Outbound means I'm sending emails to people who don't know about me. All right. We'll talk about that later because I think there are two questions today which I would like to address, and I think one of them has some connection with cold email. Okay. And why you do that is because you want to increase leads and you also want to increase sales. Okay. If you notice now, 97% of your audience do not buy from you the first time of your asking. Okay. Why? Your offer may be great. They may kind of like at first glance or at first brush, they may like what you do, but there are questions. They have questions, right? Whether they're the right fit for you, whether whatever you do is something that they could benefit from. For example, who are you? So there is an element, the lack of trust in you before they can jump to join you in your journey. So that's why you use methods like email to slowly build your relationship with them. So because people buy from people they know or they like, for example, that's why the term know, like, and trust comes into play, right? And this is a very low level method to interact with your audience, and it is a lot more cost effective. If you look at it, if you spend money to run ads, you get an immediate high of some response, for example, or maybe some sales. But what happened to the rest of them who put their hands up and say they may be interested, but they're not ready to take the leap of faith with you? So that's where the method of emails comes in. You get to nurture them, tell your stories, build them to the point they say, okay, I'm ready to join. Okay. Like I was telling some of my clients, I had a client today who has been with me about a year. And technically speaking, I calculated they would probably be receiving about 250 plus emails. And after 1 year, only today they decide to sign up as a client. Right? So email is a long-term game. Ads is short-term. All right. Is your steroid is your marketing on steroids. Whereas emails is something that you build and nurture over time. So it's a slow burn method. Okay. And if you have, back to the original idea of me showing up here, is to answer your questions. So if you have any questions, go to this site called ants.digital /ask. It will lead you to a simple Google form. Fill up your email address, obviously, and then submit your questions, and I will answer them on the following week. Okay. And if you want to know a bit more about myself, go to my LinkedIn profile. I'm more active on LinkedIn as opposed to the other channel. There's only me working, so I'm going to limit myself to what I can do. So LinkedIn is my method of choice because that's where my audience hangs out, right? So similar to you, if you want to ask which social channel should I join or which social channel should I be active on, ask yourself, where are your audience hang out? Where do they hang out? And go there, okay? And start build your reputation and build your following from there. So for me, my choice is LinkedIn. So if you want to follow me, go to this website again, ants.digital. It's a short link. It will lead you to my LinkedIn profile. And you can follow me. Just click the follow button. Don't have to connect with me if you're not sure whether I'm the right person or whether am I not a maniac or something. Just follow me. And then if you want to be notified whenever I post, hit the bell button and you'll be notified whenever I post. Okay. So that's simple. So let's get to the questions at hand today. Today we have questions from Odens, and I think it's she. And she's asking, I assume, is newsletter necessary if I just want to email my list? How can I grow it then? Okay, here's an interesting story. About 3 years plus ago, I started like everybody else. I started a list, and you can't. You are not an email marketer if you don't start a list. Okay, so I started a list and I call it a newsletter. And over the years, I then realized one thing. Now, if you look at the definition of newsletter, right, it is a periodically sent email that informs your audience of the latest news, tips, updates relating to your product and services. Now, if you look at it this way, it is great for companies, right? Because they're active, they're a big organization, they have a lot of news updates and all those things. And the best way is to have a weekly newsletter and say, oh, here's a summary of what's happening with us. Here's some wins for our customers and all those stuff. But if you look at it, if you look at it this way, individuals or smaller entrepreneurs, we don't have much news related to company products. We probably have a few products or services. Okay. And that's the same case with me. Then I came to a realization that let's not call it a newsletter because nobody joins a newsletter just to receive news from from your company. What for? What value? Right? End of the day, you have to think about what's in it for me. They join for a particular reason. Okay, so if you cannot provide that particular reason or that benefit to them, then either they join in the first cut or they will leave eventually, or they don't gain value and they will leave. Right? So my version or my take after 3 years of doing this, I do not call my email list a newsletter. In fact, I actually call it my private social network. Okay, so audience, if you are an individual working or you're a small group, a small company, for example, consider it turning into private social network. What is the difference? The difference is this. If you look at my website, you will see a pop-up. I won't say join my newsletter because there's no value whatsoever to the person. What I'm saying is, okay, can I have permission to send you or communicate with you once daily, right? And why am I going to communicate? I'm going to share with you some tips similar to newsletter or some hacks, so my personal experience with regards to email marketing. And at the same time, so when I use it as a social network, it becomes a channel of communication between me and my audience, as opposed to putting the pressure on me to come up with news. I mean, we are not what you call that. What's the famous social newsletter company? We're not those companies where we can run ads and all those things. That's different. They have a bank of journalists working for them, so they compile news from different sources and they summarize it and they present it to you in a newsletter form, right? I don't have that kind of capabilities, and very likely 99% of us out there who is doing this don't have that. So what we want is we just want to build a relationship. We want to build that communication channel, keep it open so that whenever we have something new to share, whenever we have a product to share, for example, we will do that. Other than that, we will share our experiences. We will share tips. We will share what we do and what are the things that could with the primary objective of benefiting the person who is going to receive the emails. Okay, so if audience, if you are looking at it, stop calling your newsletters or your emails that you send out newsletters, because it's not, because you're not going to share company news. There's not much company news to share. Let's be honest with yourself, and you just say, I'm going to create. Basically, I'm going to ask for your permission to email me on a regular basis. Right? I do it daily, Monday to Friday. And if you want, you can do that. Or you can say, I'll send to you or I'll communicate with you maybe once every week, or maybe 2 times or 3 times every week. All right. It becomes that communication channel. And you want to make sure that they also come back in the sense that they allow them to reply back to you. So now you have that conversation going. That's all you do. Okay. So that reduces your pressure of coming up with content, because it is tough. To be honest, it is tough. I've been doing it. I know there are certain months where I'm stuck with delivery work. For example, I may just drop off instead of daily. I just do maybe 3 times, right? But it takes practice and it takes discipline to do it. And over time, sometimes writing emails is like 5-10 minutes at most. So it's a matter of building that discipline, building that muscle memory for you to be able to do that. Okay. So the next question, audience, is how can I grow it? Okay, irrespective whether you want to call it newsletter, or in my case, I want to call it my private social network. is there are a few things. One, you can do, let me see, what is this coming up? Okay. One is you can create lead magnets. Okay. Now, what is lead magnets? Lead magnets is an item of exchange. That means I've got something, a checklist, a book, for example, or a very unique set of information that is valuable to my audience or the audience I decide I want to attract. And in order to exchange this, you're going to use this to exchange for their email address. And that's how you grow. That's one way. All right. So that's for example, if I do email, for example, I might write you know, let's say I might do a 365, let's say subject lines, okay, which I will, my subscribers, which I drop off doing that. 365 subject lines, for example, that if they want, they can get for free. And then all they need is just submit their emails and I'll email it to them. Okay, so that's how you grow from there. So the other one is if you're active on social, for example, let's say if you're on LinkedIn, all right, so what you do is you do your daily posts. You would write maybe educational posts, for example, and at the bottom of each post, you can say if you want to receive more tips or hacks, I've got join my list, right? Or give your email, and then I'll email you more on whatever time based on whatever that you're comfortable with. So you can actually do that. Okay, so and then what you do is what is the other one? Is collaboration. Okay. So, for example, Bob here, he is my LinkedIn Sifu. I actually learned my LinkedIn chops from Bob. Hi, Bob. And Bob's question is just to quick segue to what do you think of using Facebook as to grow your email newsletter subscribers? You can, but you got to have a purpose for it because you're going to spend money. So the reason why you want to grow this list and spend money to grow this list, unless you have an offer coming, right? Then yes. Otherwise, you're going to spend money to grow. At least it becomes a vanity. You may have a lot of subscribers, but these subscribers may not all of them will be suitable or target audience for your products or services. So yes, I've seen people doing it. I've seen big influencers doing it. I could do a simple webinar like this, and I can start collecting my leads for free. Maybe not in the volume that running a Facebook ads would be, but I can, if I tailor for example, my webinars specifically to a very niche item. So here's the thing. You want to be able to use whatever method, either link magnets or stuff like webinars, videos, and all those things to tailor it to the niche audience that you want to attract. So if I say, I'm going to do a webinar on marketing. I'm going to attract Facebook advertisers. I'm going to have social media practitioners, for example. Everybody who's in marketing will probably, be interested to join. Let's say, but my audience is not that. My audience could be people who are into, let's say, B2B, for example. And then if I just do marketing, then it doesn't make sense. I'll get a lot of volume, but these are not my right audience. And eventually, when they're in my list and the stuff I talk about is, let's say, B2B marketing, 90% or 70% of them will drop off. So be very careful by using this to attract. Use this to filter. Okay. Uh, yeah. Oh, yes. Morning Brew. Yes. They are worth what? 20 million USD, Bob? Yeah, absolutely. But do you have like 20, 30 journalists for you to write, to help you write? If you have that, then by all means, it's nice, but there are so many so-called newsletters out in the market. There are probably like what, less than 10 of them who actually made it. So that's how the competition is, Bob, that's it. And what else besides collaboration? Oh, so the reason why I brought Bob in, for example, let's say Bob is a major authority when it comes to LinkedIn, and he has his own set of audience. In my case, let's say I have our own set of audience. So what I want to do is I will talk to Bob and say, hey, Bob, can we do something together so we can cross-pollinate, or so I can attract Bob's audience, and likewise, Bob can attract mine. And this way, I can grow my list, because then I will attract Bob's audience into my list. And then when I want to have an offer, for example, or I want to build my authority with Bob's audience, I can do that. Okay, and that is important, especially in this day and age. Irrespective whether you run ads, every platform that we're doing, especially like now, either Facebook or even LinkedIn or whatever it is a platform that we are typically renting. In exchange, we're putting content, we're renting it, and these platforms can easily shut us out. So why you want to create either you call it newsletter or your list, for example, or your social private social network, for example, is you want to be able to bring them into your world because you have their email address. And irrespective, whatever platform changes, your emails remain consistent. You are in control. So let's say, for example, if you're using an email service provider like Smiley or Tunnel's company called Smiley, or either MailerLite or whatever it is, or MailChimp. And MailChimp says, Andrew, I don't like your the way you send emails. I'm going to shut you down. I can just download the list and then go to another ESP. The list is still with us. It's still with me, it's still with you. So that's where the value is. Okay. So you can easily start and your audience will follow you from wherever you are because your domain is owned by you anyways, right? So that's one way of doing it. You can run ads like Bob suggested, obviously. So you got to have a very clear commercial intent of spending money and what you want to do with them once you draw them in. Okay. If not, then or if you have the money to burn, then why not? Other than that, I wouldn't recommend it. Okay. What else to do? You can do giveaways, right? So if you're in e-commerce, for example, you may want to do giveaways, all right? And then that's how you attract them in and you give them a 20-30% discount, for example, and then you start sending in e-commerce, it's very clear. I'm attracting in because I will make offers to you. Okay. That's it. I want to sell something to you. It's very clear for e-commerce, all right? Whereas for like coaches or trainers or even service providers like us, for example, we just want to build trust, we want to build authority. And when the time is right, like a case of my new client here, when they are ready, they will reach out to you and says, I'm ready. Let's do business. Okay. But the fact that they come to you is because you've been in their inbox for a long period of time. You are serving them with content. You are serving them with value. You are sharing a little piece of yourself to them, right? Like recently, I wrote to my list, for example, about the experience of my daughter's head with their ice skating rink. It is just to share that I'm still a human being and I have kids and I have certain fears, right? And that brings you closer. So that's why for me, it's not newsletter. It is basically my communication tool to my audience. Okay, audience. I hope I addressed two of your questions. Moving on. This is question from Khalid. Khalid, I think I've addressed this last week. But anyway, since you've asked, I'm going to just quickly run through. You've been mentioning cold email outreach in your social posts lately. Yes, I've been doing that. If you're on LinkedIn, you probably noticed. Isn't that spam? In the old days, or in the days when I was designing websites, that's like 20 plus years ago or 2 decades ago, yes, it's spam because what we do is I don't know, we either buy the list or we find a way to collect all these lists, put them in an email system, and we just send to all of them with a single message. It is what you call a spray and pray method. Okay. That is spam because 90% of those people shouldn't be receiving my emails. It's not relevant to them for whatever we are trying to do, like, for example, building websites, right? But nowadays, because of controls put in by your mailbox providers, because of legal structures, for example, like GDPR, for example, and all those things, you can't do stuff like this anymore. All right, I call it you can't do cowboy stuff like this anymore. Okay, so the approach is you select specifically who do you want to reach out with. Reach out to, sorry. And then instead of a list of thousands, you may then bring it down to maybe 50, 100, or maybe 300. And this 300 has been vetted through. You have vet through. You have gone through their profiles. You think they would be the right prospects for your business or for your service, for example. And then you use cold outreach to build a connection, to build a bridge to them. That's all. You're not going to sell in the first cut, right? Because you sell in the first cut, yes, Khalid, that's spam. You're going to build that connection. You then, find ways to see whether you can even connect them on social, either Facebook or LinkedIn, and then introduce yourself and then have that conversation going. And over time, You would then discover more about the audience or the person that you're connected with, and that's where you can, be able to offer your services. Okay, remember, people buy from people. People buy from people that they know, like, and trust. So you're using, in this case, you're using cold email outreach, which is hyper targeted, and your emails, each one your emails is heavily personalized. And when I say heavily personalized, it's not just hi Andrew or hi name. That's 101. That's very basic. When I say it's hyper personalized, for example, my opening line, for example, would be something related to the person I want to reach out to. It could be a news item that he or she was involved in, a new achievement that they have attained, for example. I'm going to use that as my bridge, also called my icebreaker. Okay. And then I may not, depending on the audience, likewise, depending on the audience, I may not even ask them to get on a call because it's just way too early. All right. But I may get them to connect on social. And from there, they would then be able to look at the stuff I post. And if it resonates with them, great. No, if it's not, then at least I have just built a so-called a new friend, right? And over time, when the time is right, then they could be my customers. So that's how cold email, in the way I look at it in the modern era, it should be done this way, respectfully to the recipient. And because you can run ads, right? um, Oh, yes, I've got. I'm trying to focus here at the same time. I've got comments, so I've got to give time to Bob. Bob, you have done this. Yes, I plan to use Facebook ads to grow it. By all means, Bob. You probably have the brand cachet or brand name for you to pull this off. Go ahead. Let me know how it turns out. You can use Paper Li to curate. Okay, I have no idea what's this. Uh, Daphne, hi, good evening. And who else? Okay, any other comments? No. So, sorry, my train of thoughts. So, new modern way of doing it is you're using cold email to build connections, not to sell yet. But the bigger the connections that you have or the bigger network you have, then obviously the opportunity for you to market your product and services is there. Okay. So if you have, let's say, 300, doesn't make sense. It does not make sense for you to run ads because you need a minimum of 500,000. If Bob is running Facebook, he should know. You need a minimum of 500,000 to 1 million so-called audience in order for you to make your ads work. But 300, and you have probably less than that, then use cold email to outreach, right? And it's similar to what you do, for example, at LinkedIn. If I find somebody that is interesting and or the content or he or she puts up interesting, I would want to reach out to connect with them. Same thing. It's the same method. It's just that is using on LinkedIn on platform itself. Here I'm using emails to do it. Okay. Spam is not halal. Very true. Very true. Spam is not halal for our international friends. Okay, this is a private joke, so you can, I don't know how to explain it. All right. So, anyways, Khalid, I hope I've addressed your question. If you do it right, cold email is no longer spam. It is a method for you to reach the specific person that you want to reach out to and to build a connection. And anything beyond that, if you take, okay, I'm going to buy a list and I'm going to send to everybody who's on the list, and I'm going to say, hey, I build websites, or or I do email marketing. If you have a need, here's my number, here's the link to my website. I can guarantee you, your domain will be burned immediately. Okay, so be careful. Show respect to your recipients and do it correctly, and you will see benefits from it. Okay. So coincidentally, I've got this new service, and it is called B2B Sniper Leads, and it is based on my understanding and my belief that cold email can be a strategic tool for you to grow your leads and grow your prospects. Basically, reach out to prospects to grow your leads. Okay. And thanks to Khaled, he gave me that. I was supposed to launch this later, but since he mentioned it, so I may as well just let you know. I don't have a landing page done yet, but generally the service it's a done for you service where I will work with you to identify your lead list. That means the target audience that you want to reach out to, and then build your emails. your icebreaker emails, for example, whereby we're going to look at, each and individual recipient. What are the things that you can build as a bridge to connect to them? Something that's of mutual interest, for example, or maybe a pain that you've identified that you may want to bring up, and to get them to respond or reply back to your email. That's all. Okay. And if they don't reply, you probably have like 2, 3 emails going up as a follow up. But once you have built that connections, then you can have two things. You can then go back to Odin's method, newsletter, or even like what I do, my own list, and then I can then, with their permission, I will send weekly or daily emails to talk about what I do, and eventually they will understand, get a better understanding of what I do, and when the time is right, they will then trigger and says, Andrew, I've been following you. I like what you do. I believe what you do, and I've got this problem. Can you help? Okay. So that's one way of doing it. So that's why I call it sniper leads, because I'm not going to come and help you do 1,000 or 2,000 emails. I'm going to blast everybody out. No, there are certain methods of doing it. Stuff like warming up your list, having your new domain to do this, the method of automating certain processes for you to send your emails and follow up. And you're not going to send hundreds of emails in a day. That will burn your domain. You'll probably start with 5, 10, and grow them. And if you want to do more, then you may have to create new domains. So long story short, B2B sniper leads, like the name has I've mentioned, applies to companies who do B2B sales. If you're selling cosmetics and you want to reach out to people who are interested in your cosmetics, don't use this, run ads. But if you want to reach to, let's say, big distributors, right? You want to expand your marketing and you want to connect with distributors to market your products. Yes, because the audience is very limited. Probably like 10, 20, 50, or maybe 100. Yes, you would use something like uh, B2B sniper lead services. All right. Anyways, stay in touch with me on my social on LinkedIn. And when I have more details, and I will share with you. And once I build my landing page up probably within this week or so, and you will see basically how it's done. All right. So, Bob, okay, now you get the idea. Maybe use cold email to grow your newsletter. Yes. No, actually, Bob, you should target the top influencers that you want to connect with, because with your presence, he's the king of LinkedIn as far as I'm concerned. You can do that. And at the same time, those who may not be on LinkedIn, you can use cold email to reach out to them. Okay. So yes, be precise. Cold email is very small, pincer-like audience. Run ads is I want to reach 100,000 people or 1 million people to just share my message, and hopefully 3% of them will convert. Okay. That's the difference of using. So it's not scattergun. Your ads is scattergun. For cold email is sniper. I know exactly who I want to reach out to. I know what they do. I know what possibly is their pain point. I know what's their latest development that's happening with them or either their company, and I want to add value to them. That's why you use cold email for. Okay. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Uh, 35 minutes, not bad. And I'll see you again next Wednesday. Before I forget, so if you have any questions, come to this page. If you have a phone, you can scan the QR code. It leads you to the same page. It's a Google form. Fill up your questions like, what Khalid and Odens have done. And I will see you next Wednesday with your answers, with answering your questions. And hopefully that will help you along in your email marketing journey. So with that, thank you so much for your time. And if you're watching the replay, uh, thanks for watching, and I hope you gain as much value as much fun serving you today. I'll see you again next Wednesday. Andrew Wong signing off. Have a good evening. I'll see you next Wednesday. Cheers. Bye.